Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. In the previous class, we were discussing about, we have discussed completely about the rotation, how the Earth moves around its axis, and how it causes day and night in the on the Earth. Okay, and after that, we were discussing about revolution. Revolution is the motion of the Earth around the Sun in a particular path, that is orbit. So this kind of motion of the earth is called revolution. And I also told you about how every year 6 hours are saved by the earth, and on every fourth year these 6 hours are of which is saved every year. On every fourth year, these 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, 4 times 6 hours are added, and thus one additional day is created. And this additional day is added in the year, and every fourth year has 366 days, and it is called a leap year. So we have discussed up till now, up to this point. Now we will discuss further. Okay, in this context, now we will discuss only about the revolution and how the movement of the earth around the sun causes changes in the season. We experience many different seasons on the earth. Sometimes there is very cold, sometimes there is very sometimes what happens that it's very hot. Sometimes it's autumn season, and sometimes it's spring season. So we experience different types of season at different times on the earth. So a year is usually divided into 4 seasons: summer, winter, spring, and autumn. So now we will consider this कि how this change of season takes place. क्यों season बदलते हैं? Okay, and in this regard you have to keep in mind two things. The first is that the orbit of the earth. You can look at the shape of the orbit of the earth. This shape is, what is the shape? This is elongated. The earth is not moving on a circular path. It is, the path is elongated. This is the path which is denoted by this red arrow. This is the path of the earth, the orbit of the earth, which is elongated. And the second thing which you have noticed, uh, look at the earth. The earth is inclined. In all the pictures we are seeing that the earth is not straight, it is inclined, and it is always inclined in the same direction. Okay, in the same direction. Okay. Now, keeping in mind all these things, we are studying. Now we are starting our discussion about seasons, how the seasons change, and this figure is very much important for us in order to understand the change in season because of revolution. So, in this picture, you can see this is the sun. These are the rays of the sun. Okay, and this is the path orbit of the earth, and this is earth. Okay, now we will concentrate on this picture. First we will start from this. Okay, here we can see this is this pink line. This line is denoting the axis. Okay, this is the axis of the earth, and you can see it here. Just wait a moment. You can see here an arrow is denoted, because this is denoting that the direction of the movement of the earth. The earth is moving from west to east. Okay, it should always be in your mind that the earth moves from west to east. You can see this is the arrow. It is starting from this side and going to that side. Okay, so this is axis, and then this is equator, and this is Tropic of Cancer, and this is Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, and this is Arctic Circle, and because of the sphere shape of the Earth, we are not able to see all the important latitudes, but this much is important for you. And now we will consider this, that this is the month of June. We are talking about the month of June. In the month of June, what type of season do you experience? In the month of June, अभी आने वाला है ना, at present we are in the month of May, and after 1 month there will be June. और जून में क्या होता है आपकी गर्मी छुट्टियां होती है. यू हैव समर वेकेशन इन द मंथ ऑफ जून. क्यों होते हैं समर वेकेशन? बिकॉज बहुत ज्यादा गर्मी होती है ना, देर इज टू मच heat is there, and because of this heat we can get ill. So क्या होता है कि बच्चों की छुट्टियां होती हैं. तो हम किस सीजन में अभी हैं? हम अभी समर सीजन में हैं. ओके, तो इन द मंथ ऑफ जून व्हाट हैपेंस, क्यों हम समर सीजन में हैं? अभी हमारे जहाँ पर हम जिस प्लेस पे हैं वहाँ पे क्यों हम समर सीजन एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं? बिकॉज द rays of the sun is falling directly on the tropic of Cancer. This is tropic of Cancer, which is in the northern hemisphere. So the rays of the sun is falling directly on the tropic of Cancer, and because of this direct fall of the sunlight on the tropic of Cancer, we experience summer in the northern hemisphere. Okay, in all the northern hemisphere, in the complete northern hemisphere, there is a summer season. क्यों है समर सीजन? क्योंकि सन का रे डायरेक्ट फॉल कर रहा है ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैंसर पे. ओके, नाउ on 21st June, what happens that on this day, the rays of the sun is fall completely direct on the Tropic of Cancer, and on this day, we experience the longest day and the shortest night. Okay, in summer, usually what we find that during the summer season, the days are longer. Why the days are longer? And the nights are shorter. Why this happened? This happened because of the direct fall of the sunlight on the Tropic of Cancer. So on 21st June, we experienced the longest day and the shortest night. Okay, and now we will talk about the southern hemisphere. In southern hemisphere, what is happening? This is our southern hemisphere. In southern hemisphere, people experience winter season. Why there is winter season? Because their sunlight is not falling in any of the latitude of the southern hemisphere directly. सदर्न हेमिस्फेयर के किसी भी लैटिट्यूड पे सन की लाइट अभी डायरेक्ट नहीं पड़ रही होती है, बट वो स्लैंटिंग पड़ रही होती है. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस स्लैंटिंग fall of sunlight, what happens that the heat is less. Heat is less means there is winter season. Okay, so in southern hemisphere, people are experiencing winter season in the month of June. So this is your different seasons. In southern northern hemisphere, there is summer, and in southern hemisphere, there is winter. Now we will discuss one more thing. We can see that the north pole is inclined towards the sun. Okay, you are seeing, and what we see, look at this. This is Arctic Circle. This is Arctic Circle. Now, you can observe that the whole Arctic Circle, all the places which are situated between Arctic Circle and North Pole, this all place is on the right side of the line of illumination. It means this place, the places which are situated between Arctic Circle and North Pole will always experience daytime. Can you imagine? In the poles at the poles we experience days of 6 months duration and nights of 6 month duration. This is because of this inclination of the earth, because the earth is inclined, and because of this inclination, what happens that during the summer season, when the sun rays are falling directly on the tropic of Cancer, at that time, what happens that the places which are between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole, all they always experience daytime, because you can see the earth is rotating also. Both the movement are taking place at the same time. Revolution is also taking place, and rotation is also taking place. So earth is rotating, but instead of in spite of the rotation of the earth, there is no change in the circle of elimination. You can see the circle of elimination is here, and this is the circle of elimination, and this portion is completely out of this circle of elimination. So this will not experience daytime for a fixed period of for fixed hours, and night time for fixed hours. Actually, this area will receive sunlight for whole the summer months. For almost 6 months there will be daytime, and the same thing is happening in the southern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, what we see that the places which are situated between Antarctic Circle and southern pole, these that places are under this on the left side of the circle of elimination, and this place is not getting any of the light of the sun, and because of this, at this place people are experiencing night time for the 6 months. Okay, so at the North Pole, when there is daytime, at that time in the southern pole people experience night time. Okay, now we will move to this situation. Uh, okay, this is called summer solstice. When the rays of the sun falls directly on the Tropic of Cancer, and because of this falling of straight rays of the sun on the Tropic of Cancer, the southern hemisphere experience summer season, and this is called summer solstice. Okay, and during this summer solstice, there is summer in the northern hemisphere, winter in the southern hemisphere. There is days are longer in the southern hemisphere, days are longer in the northern hemisphere, and nights are shorter. In southern hemisphere, days are shorter and nights are longer. Okay, and in during this summer solstice, the North Pole is experiencing daytime, the South Pole is experiencing night time. So these are the important features of summer solstice. In the same way, what happens now, we are 6 months 6 months ahead. Now we are in the month of December. In the month of December, what we experience too much cold. बहुत ठंड हमें फील होती है ना? क्यों we feel cold in the month of December? Because the rays of the sun is not falling directly on any of the latitude of the northern hemisphere. Okay, if the rays of the sun fall directly, then what happens? We feel heat. There is hot season, there is summer season, but in the month of December, the rays of the sun is falling directly on the tropic of Capricorn. This is Tropic of Capricorn. And because of this, what happens during the month of December, there is a summer season in the southern hemisphere, because the light of the sun, rays of the sun is falling directly on the on the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, so this uh, hemisphere experience summer seasons. hemisphere is experiencing summer season in the month of December, and the northern hemisphere is experiencing winter season in the northern winter season. Okay, so this is called winter solstice. This is winter solstice, and on 22nd December, the southern hemisphere experience the longest day and shortest night. On 22nd December, the southern hemisphere experience the longest day because there is summer season. Okay, because the rays of the sun is falling directly on the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, and on the same day, the northern hemisphere is experiencing the shortest day. Okay, and you must be very surprised to know that the countries which are in the southern hemisphere, for example, Australia, New Zealand, many countries of Africa, they experience winter season. They celebrate Christmas festival in the month of in the season of summer, because Christmas is on 25th of December, and December is the summer month in the southern hemisphere, and because of this, the countries which are situated in the southern hemisphere celebrate this festival in the summer season, and people in the northern hemisphere celebrate the festival of the Christmas in the winter season. Okay, so this is how we have understood the summer solstice and the winter solstice. Now one more thing is there, and this is the same thing. You can see this is the Arctic Circle. Okay, and this is North Pole, and we see that the whole almost all the places which are situated between Arctic Circle and the northern North Pole, all the places are on the right side of the circle of illumination. It is that place which is not receiving at all the sunlight, and because of this these places experiences night time, and this night time is not for 12 hours, but this night time is for almost 6 months. And at this time on the southern pole there is daytime, because why this is happening, you must understand. I'm repeating these things because these are very important to understand, because earth is rotating. What is the effect of the rotation of the earth? We experience day and night within 24 hours, the daytime and the night time. This is because of rotation of the earth, but these places are not uh, getting any kind of uh, help, we can say, from the rotation. The earth is rotating, but their position, illumination is not uh, changing. They are always in front of the light. They are always uh, in the darker side, so they are experiencing night time. And in the southern hemisphere, in the south pole, there is always daytime. So this is winter solstice. Okay, and dates must be remembered to you. And in this winter solstice, the northern hemisphere experience winter season, and the southern hemisphere experience summer season. Okay, and on 22nd December in the northern hemisphere, the days are shortest. The shortest day is experienced on 22nd December in northern hemisphere, and the longest night is experienced on that day in northern hemisphere, and in southern hemisphere the longest day and shortest night on 22nd December is experienced by the people. And during this winter solstice, the North Pole experience nighttime and the South Pole experience daytime for almost 6 months. Okay, now this is clear to you. Okay, now we have discussed about two seasons. Now we will discuss about two another seasons, and they are autumn and spring. Now we what we are seeing that these are the two position, this and this. Okay, and what is the time? This is 21st March and this is 23rd September. On these 2 days, what we see that the rays of the sun fall directly on the equator. These are the times of the year when the rays of the sun is falling directly on the equator. This is equator. Imagine this picture in three-dimensional. The picture is, you are seeing the picture, it is drawn in two dimensions only. It don't have depth, है ना, लंबाई है, चौड़ाई है, but गहराई is not there. Length is there, breadth is there, but depth is not there. So this is two dimensional. Just think about uh, mm, this picture in a real real terms. Okay, in three dimensions. Now think of this picture. So the earth is moving like this, it is moving from this to this direction, and all the time the rays of the sun is falling directly on the equator at this place also and at this place also. The earth is moving, and all the time the rays are falling directly on the equator. So this is called equinox. Why it is called equinox? Because in this picture you can see that neither of the pole is tilted towards the sun. As we saw that during the summer solstice, what the north pole was tilted towards the sun, and in winter solstice, the south pole was tilted towards the sun. Okay, this is important to understand. The in this two situation, what is happening? The poles are not tilted towards the sun. Okay, so unlike summer solstice when the north pole was tilted towards the sun, and the winter solstice when the south pole was tilted towards the sun, in this situation, in this which is called equinox, none of the poles are inclined towards the sun. The rays of the sun is falling directly on the equator, and because of this what happens that the whole earth experience equal days and equal nights. Okay, the whole world at this time, the whole world is experiencing equal days and equal night, and this is why it is called equinox. Okay, and when it is 21st March, what happens? It is autumn season. In It is autumn season, and on 23rd, it is autumn season in northern hemisphere, and in southern hemisphere, no. On 21st March, what happens that spring is there in the northern hemisphere. Spring is there in the northern hemisphere and autumn is there in the southern hemisphere. Okay, you experience in the March season, what you experience, there is neither too much cold not too much heat is there, but the season is very pleasant. This is called spring. So in the month of March, people in the northern hemisphere experience spring season. Okay, and during this time, people of the southern hemisphere experience autumn season. Okay, now on 23rd September, people of the northern hemisphere experience autumn season, and people of the southern hemisphere experience spring season. So, this is all about your seasons, how seasons change, why seasons change. Okay, all these things are now must be clear to you. Okay, so there are four seasons: summer, winter, spring, and autumn. When in northern hemisphere summer season, at that time southern hemisphere has winter season. When northern hemisphere has winter season, at that time southern hemisphere has summer season. When northern hemisphere has a spring season, at that time the southern hemisphere has autumn season. And when in northern hemisphere there is autumn season, the southern hemisphere has spring season. Okay, so now we will see here. This is all about all which have discussed by me to you. All these things are written here. Uh, so these are very important. Uh, Look at this. On 21st June, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. Okay, and the rays of the sun fall directly on the Tropic of Cancer. These areas receive more heat. Okay, and the North Pole is inclined towards the sun, and the places beyond the Arctic Circle experience continuous daylight for about 6 months. I discussed all these things with you now. Since a large portion of the northern hemisphere is getting light from the sun, it is summer in the regions north of the equator. Okay, the longest day and the shortest night at these places occur on 21st June. Okay, and at this time, southern hemisphere, all these conditions are reverse. वहां पर सब कुछ उल्टा होता है if we compare it with the northern hemisphere. This position of the earth is called summer solstice. Okay, now 22nd December को क्या होता है? The Tropic of Capricorn receives the direct rays of the sun. Why? Because the south pole is tilted towards the sun. Okay, and it is summer in the southern hemisphere with longer days and shorter night. And at this time, the northern hemisphere is experiencing winter season. The reverse happens in the northern hemisphere, and this position of the earth is called winter solstice. Okay, now These are the two dates which you must remember: 21st March and 23rd September, when the rays of the sun falls directly on the equator. And because of this, uh, there is on all the earth experience equal days and equal nights. No, neither of the poles is tilted towards the sun. Okay, so this is called equinox. And then on 23rd September, it is autumn season in the northern hemisphere and spring in the southern hemisphere. Autumn in the northern hemisphere and spring in the southern hemisphere. Okay, and the opposite case is the case on 21st March. 21st March को बिल्कुल इसका opposite हो जाता है. So thus we find that there are days and nights and change in the season because of the rotation and revolution of the earth respectively. So that's all for today. Now we will meet tomorrow. Okay.